The town of Pine Reach sat quietly at the foot of a rust-colored ridge, where pine trees outnumbered people and the days blended into silence. Life moved slow here. Folks liked it that way. No big chain stores, no four-lane highways. Just a single blinking stoplight, a diner that still had a jukebox, and a radio station that hadn't changed its setup since the 80s. That's where Cal Travers worked. Or hid, depending on who you asked. Once a big voice in Denver FM, Cal had retreated to Pine Reach after everything fell apart. The divorce, the death of his brother, the burnout. Now, 5 nights a week. He sat alone in the rickety station shack out past the truck stop, spinning classic vinyl for anyone still awake. He called his show The Sound of Nowhere. That night, the snow had started falling again, soft and dry, the kind that blanketed without warning. Cal let himself in through the back entrance, turned on the generator, it always took 2 tries, and flipped on the big red light above the door. "Welcome back, night wolves," his voice cracked over the airwaves. "It's your boy Cal, coming to you live from the far end of the world, where the only thing colder than the wind is the truth. Stay with me tonight. We've got Dylan, Bowie, and maybe a little live talk, if anyone's still out there." He queued up the first record, Space Oddity, and leaned back in the creaky chair, sipping lukewarm coffee. That's when he noticed it. The auxiliary phone line was blinking. Line 2. It had no number assigned to it. Cal hadn't used it once since he moved to Pine Reach. No caller ID, just a steady green flash. Curious, Cal picked up the receiver. No dial tone, just a low hum. And then, a voice. It sounded distant, like it was coming through layers of static, old tape, maybe even time itself. Monotone, unemotional. "Accident. County Road 14. Truck. 3 dead. 12:07 a.m. The line went dead. Cal pulled the headset away, slowly, blinking. It was 11:58 p.m. He stared at the wall clock for a moment, the hum of the turntable filling the booth. Then, without really knowing why, he grabbed his coat and keys, just in case. The snow had stopped falling by the time Cal reached County Road 14. At 12:05 a.m., the road was quiet. Just a pair of tire tracks cutting through the slush. He sat there in his car, headlights off, half expecting nothing, half hoping it had just been some weird power surge. But then came the distant red flicker of sirens. A semi had gone off the road just around the bend, smashed into a parked SUV. 3 dead, a woman, her teenage son, the driver of the semi, exactly like the voice had said. Cal didn't sleep when he got home, just sat at the kitchen table listening to old recordings and trying to convince himself it was some kind of sick prank. Scanner traffic? Number 2 specific. Too early. He played the broadcast back. Everything was there. His monologue, the Bowie track, the static from the booth mic. But the moment the call should have come in, dead air. 2 full minutes of silence, like the station had muted itself, like the line had never existed. The next night, he returned to the booth with a cassette recorder, a spare battery pack, and an uneasy chill riding low in his stomach. He didn't mention the call on air. Didn't want to sound paranoid, but when 11:57 p.m. hit, he was already staring at line 2. Blink, blink. He picked up the receiver. "Fire, Willow Drive, garage, 2:41 a.m. Same voice, flat, distant, like a ghost reading from a script. Cal tried to speak. "Who is this?" But the line clicked off before he could finish. He drove to Willow Drive anyway, parked across the street, waited. At 2:41 a.m. sharp, the garage burst into flames. No storm, no lightning, just spontaneous ignition. The family got out safe. No one saw Cal sitting in his car, but he saw them. And he saw the look on the homeowner's face as he realized everything he owned was gone in under 3 minutes. Cal didn't go home after the second incident. He stayed at the station, pacing the booth while the same late-night jazz LP looped for hours. He didn't trust his own thoughts anymore. His hands trembled when he poured his coffee. His voice, once so confident behind the mic, now cracked when he tested his levels. He'd tried to tell someone, called the local sheriff's office, mentioned he'd heard a tip before the fire. They thanked him, hung up. By the time 11:50 p.m. came around, Cal was sweating. Line 2 blinked at 11:57. He hit record before answering. Gas leak, Birch and Main, 6:12 a.m. Avoid proximity. Same voice, same icy, emotionless tone. He spoke this time. Who are you? Silence. What do you want from me? 3 days, 6 events, 1 choice. What kind of choice? You are the voice. You decide the pattern. Listen. The line went dead. At dawn, Cal parked 2 blocks from Birch and Main. A bakery exploded just after 6 a.m. No one died. A delivery driver had smelled gas and backed away just in time. Cal hadn't warned anyone directly, but the incident made the morning news. People started whispering about strange coincidences. Pine Reach hadn't had this many major incidents in years. 3 events, 3 warnings, all real. That night, Line 2 rang again. Missing, water, found at 5:40 a.m., Meadow Lake. He didn't ask questions, just jotted it down. The next morning, the boy was found. 10 years old, had wandered from a nearby camping lot. The search party had passed the lake twice before someone noticed the jacket floating by the reeds. 4 events, 2 left. Cal didn't sleep anymore. He started keeping records, pin maps, time logs, frequency charts. He even climbed the old broadcast tower behind the station, checking for tampering or strange signals. Nothing, except one oddity, a faint carrier frequency, just outside normal AM bandwidth. Something was transmitting to the station on a signal no one used anymore. He tuned in manually. The static resolved into breathing. Cal's world was shrinking. The station, once a refuge, now felt like a nexus, like everything strange and impossible was flowing through it. He stopped airing live shows and started running pre-recorded playlists instead. But still, he came every night. Drawn like an addict, he couldn't help it. Line 2 called again. No blinking light this time, just a sudden ring in a dead silent room. He picked up. Crossroads, black sedan, 3:33 a.m., 1 fatality. Wait, Cal begged. This ends in 3 days, right? You said 6 events. We're at 4. What happens after 6? Silence. Then, faintly, you already know. That night, Cal drove to the crossroads. Waited. At 3:33, a car came from the east. Another from the south. One running a red light. A sickening crunch. 1 man dead. Just like the voice said. But this time, Cal saw someone else at the scene. A teenage girl standing just off the road watching, barefoot, pale, wearing a hoodie despite the cold. She made eye contact with him, then turned and walked into the woods without a word. Cal followed her footprints for half a mile before they just stopped. The snow around them was undisturbed. Back at the station, he pulled every emergency broadcast file he could find, scoured the signal logs, buried himself in static and spectrograms. And that's when he saw it. A pattern. In the background hum of each recorded call, something was hiding. A coded transmission. Not words, not Morse, but tones. Like a countdown layered beneath each warning. 5 tones in the first call, 4 in the second, 3 in the third. He checked the latest recording. 2 tones. Cal stared at the waveform like it might bite him. If he was right, there was one more warning to come. And then something else. Something final. Cal didn't go home. He slept at the station, if you could call it sleep, dozing in 10-minute bursts, haunted by dreams of black water and ash falling from the sky. By now, the voice wasn't just in his ear. It was in his bones. He tried not to think about what happened after the 6th event. He tried to convince himself that he was just receiving, not participating, that he was still just the messenger. But when Lane 2 rang at 11:57 p.m., something was different. There was no static, no delay. The voice was clearer, closer. Crescent Bridge, 6:06 a.m. You decide. What do you mean? Cal demanded. What happens at the bridge? 1 dies, or 50. You choose. What the hell does that mean? You will be there. You already are. Click. Cal didn't sleep. He drove to the bridge long before dawn. Parked near the guardrail. Waited. At 6:03, a city commuter bus pulled up to the intersection. At 6:05, a car approached from the opposite direction, weaving slightly. A drunk driver. If Cal said nothing, the two would collide head-on, sending the bus over the rail into the river. Dozens dead. But if he ran out now, if he intervened, he could force the drunk off the road early, stop the whole thing. He stood at the edge of the road, heart pounding. Then, like clockwork, 6:06. The car came into view. The bus turned. The moment was now. Cal stepped out into the road, arms waving. The car swerved hard, missing him by inches. It smashed into a light post instead, the driver unconscious but alive. The bus stopped. The passengers stared, wide-eyed. No one died. For the first time, Cal had broken the pattern. And as he stood there, heart hammering, a sound rose behind him, a low hum, almost melodic. From far above, the clouds parted. Not to reveal sunlight, but a ring of black, a swirling shape, almost watching, like an eye. And then, a whisper only he could hear. Now you understand. The signal listens too. The bridge incident made the news. Local DJ saves dozens in bus incident. But Cal didn't celebrate, didn't go on air, didn't return home. He was barely eating, barely existing. He kept listening, not just to line 2 anymore, to everything. Shortwave, AM, FM, satellite bands, weather alerts, static on old VHS tapes. It was all connected. Somewhere in the noise, someone or something was always transmitting. At 2:17 a.m., the night after the bridge, the tower lights flickered, and the door to the station opened, even though it was locked. Cal reached for the bat behind the console, heart pounding. But no one entered. Instead, every monitor, every speaker in the building went to static. Then, a voice, not the cold robotic one, but his own voice, distorted. This is Cal, and you're not alone out there. The recording repeated, warped and echoing. He watched in horror as the waveform on the screen matched his own heartbeat. Then, the girl appeared again. The same teenage girl from the crossroads. Same hoodie. Same empty expression. She was standing inside the broadcast room, even though he never saw her enter. "You weren't supposed to stop it," she said. Cal could barely breathe. "Stop what?" "The pattern. Who are you?" "I was like you once. I listened. Then I tried to act. Now I relay." Her eyes glowed faintly, Not supernatural, but like she was reflecting something invisible. You still have a choice. One more call is coming. And just like that, she vanished. No door, no sound, just static. The logs updated themselves. Event 7, undefined. The countdown had reset. And now, Cal understood. The signal wasn't just warning him, it was testing him, watching how he reacted, tracking how much he resisted or complied. He wasn't the audience, he was the experiment. Cal didn't go back to the station. He smashed his phone, pulled the breaker on his house, wrapped every piece of electronics in foil. Even then, he heard it, faint signals in the plumbing, code in the flicker of streetlights, the hum of a world always listening. He tried leaving town, took back roads west, but everywhere he went, the signal followed. Billboards flickered static. Car radios turned on by themselves, and always that countdown, tones in the distance, like sonar, like breathing. On the 6th day, the tower called again. No ringing, no lights. It just spoke from inside his head. The last event is yours. Mine how? Cal muttered, curled in the driver's seat in some forgotten parking lot. We've shown you what happens when you act, and when you don't. This is your broadcast now. What do you want me to do? Silence. Then, pick up the mic. Cal drove back to the station for the last time. Everything was on, even though no one had touched the controls. The airwaves were already open, transmitting. The voice came again, not through headphones, not over the speaker, inside him. Tell them what you saw. He reached for the mic with a trembling hand. This is Cal, he whispered, and I think we've been tuned into something that's not ours. I think there's a signal out there, not man-made, not natural, something ancient, cold, curious. He paused, then said the thing that had haunted him since it all began. And I think it's not done with us. Far above the town, the sky rippled. Every radio station on the continent went dead for 1.4 seconds. A signal burst blanketed the hemisphere. No one could explain it. No one could trace it. But those listening to Radio Free Nowhere that night swear they heard something just before the silence, a second voice, one that said, "Relay accepted." Then, dead air.